Okay, good morning, everyone. We are hoping everybody will come on. We have some changes with our time and some confusion. So if you didn't jump on now, hopefully you'll watch us later. So I'm Candace at Sewing Machines Plus. This is tea time. And I have an amazing guest with me today. This is Debbie Ewing.
Hello.
And Debbie has been my guest before. And she used to be a teacher here for many, many years. She was one of our amazing teachers. I'm not sure if she's totally retired yet, but COVID seems to have
threw a wrench in everything.
Yeah. So I was happy to bring her on my show so that we can still take all of her amazing knowledge and share it with you. So we don't have her in the classroom, but instead we have her here on our show.
It'll work.
So we're thrilled. Thank you, Debbie, for coming on. And we're going to go ahead and just do some chatting while we wait for everyone to jump on. We are streaming live on Facebook as well as YouTube. So if you have any questions, go ahead and you can put those in the chat. And good morning, everyone that's saying hello from Arizona, North Carolina, Michigan,
Missouri, Colorado. They're
awesome.
From everywhere.
We're so thrilled to have you guys from all over the country. Taking some time out. Hey, Kim, saying hi this morning from Puerto Rico. Oh, fantastic. One of our employees just took a trip to Puerto Rico. Laura and her family just went down there.
Oh, wow.
So very nice. All right. Well, we're thrilled to have all you guys on. So remember, we do giveaways at the end of the show. So go ahead, and if you're on YouTube, you'll want to share the page, put a like on there, or make some comments, and you'll be entered to win a couple fun products at the end of the show.
You have some good ones.
I do.
I wish I could do
it. Yeah, Debbie, sorry, you can't win. That's always a situation, right? Employees are never eligible for anything. It's kind of a bummer. So let's talk about some stuff going on with Sewing Machines Plus. We have opened our classroom, so for live in-person classes, and we're thrilled to be able to do that. And then we still have some virtual events going on. So we kind of have both going on right now. So if you want to find out everything that we have available, we're going to hop onto our page. This is SewingMachinesPlus.com main page. And when you open that up, you'll see the first thing that pops up is Hoop Fest. We have an amazing embroidery festival coming up. It's all about embroidery. It's June 14th through the 19th, and it is 6 days of live streaming. It's going to be amazing. Wow. Even if you don't embroider, jump on there. You may find some amazing things that will work for your projects that you do. So you see all the information. If you scroll down, it'll talk about entering your quilt. I think we're done with our entries and voting time has started. And then you can click on each day and find out what's going on each day, who our presenters are. And as you see, we have an amazing lineup of industry experts that will be coming on to our Hoop Fest and sharing their knowledge. We'll have a lot of demos, a lot of education. So this is going to be an amazing event, and you'll want to be chatting with us live. And then, of course, it's recorded, so you can go back and watch anything that you might have missed. In fact, our Hoop Fest is in June, and then we have Sew Fest in September, and we just kind of announced the dates for Sew Fest. And so, keep an eye out for that in September. And if you missed Quilt Fest, that was is that February? I think. That is online. So if you missed anything, you can go back and watch any of the videos. They live on our YouTube page or our Facebook page. So let's talk about some classes. If you go onto our main page, you'll see up at the top, it says events and classes. And that's where you find out everything going on. So if you scroll down a little bit, you'll see Blaine's show. And Blaine is going to be here next Thursday, and his time has changed. He's going to be starting at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. My show is also going to be changing the time. We were going to try 12 o'clock, but we are not sure yet. So just keep an eye out for that. But if you click on my page, let's see what's on there. So the one thing that's on there is our product special and our applique sampler for today's show. So let's go ahead and click on that red banner. And these are the products that we are featuring on the show. Not all of them, but a lot of them. And you can see we're going to be offering some sale prices. So there's a coupon code up there. It says Tea Time 16. This is my 16th show.
Wow.
Woohoo, we are rolling. And so if you scroll down, you can also see the instructions for our samples we're going to be doing today. And so if you want to go home and recreate some of these applique things we're doing, you can just print out this instruction page.
Now, the only thing that didn't get there is the actual drawing of what the project's going to look like.
So we have those. We are going to upload these, okay?
So these will be uploaded. Whoops.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, look at there. Maybe
so
they already are.
Upload these after our show. We realized they weren't part of the download. So we'll upload those so you can also download these and print these if you want to do this project we will be featuring today.
Excellent.
So that's where you find that information, is on my Tea Time page. All right, let's go back to classes. So actually, this is our event page. So actually, let's stay here, David. And you'll see that we have started Embroidery Club. We've also started our Serger Club. Those are in-store, in-person classes. And you don't have to be a member of the club. We're just calling it a club because the price has been reduced. And every month you'll learn a new technique and a new project to take home and work on. And you'll be learning how to do different things on your embroidery machine or your serger.
Do you bring your machines to those?
Yes, you do. You got to bring your machines to class.
I got to know my packing list.
Yeah, your packing list. All the information's on our website. And then we will be starting Quilt Club, I think in July. So, and then we're going to be starting a Sew Club also. So keep an eye out for those. Okay, let's talk about our 3-day quilt workshop. That's this weekend, right? Next weekend. When is that? Let's click on that. May 27th. That is next week. We still got one more week.
Yeah.
This is an in-person quilting workshop. This is paper piecing. This is a new Judy Niemeyer Coral Reef quilt that just came out last year. And you'll be working with Kat. We still have a few slots available. If you're in the area or if you want to take a little trip down here for 3 days, this would be a great quilt for beginners as well as seasoned sewists. She'll teach you all the paper piecing techniques so you can finish this quilt at home. You won't finish it in 3 days.
That is gorgeous.
Isn't that beautiful?
Yeah.
All right, so let's go back onto our page. And we do have a trunk show also going on. So that's Kat. And if you scroll down, she's going to be bringing all of her quilts. That's just some snippets of several of her quilts she'll be bringing. And she'll be doing a trunk show as well as you'll be able to purchase patterns if any of these quilts appeal to you. It's free for any customers that want to come in. It's at noon on Saturday here in our San Marcos store. So definitely come on next Saturday, the 29th. So that's going to be a trunk show, and it'll be during the 3-day workshop.
You have a lot going on.
We do. We have a lot going on. Yeah, Kim, I know you're signed up for the workshop, so that's going to be exciting. And then other things going on if you actually go to our class calendar. So if you click on that, you can see what's going on for the next couple months. So if you just click on any of those, it will pull up all the information for that class. So we have machine classes for new owners, and then we have our club starting. All right. Okay, so awesome. All right, I guess we're kind of ready to get started. What do you think?
I think we're ready. We've got a lot to do.
We have so much to do today. Debbie is here to talk about applique, and there's a whole lot to talk about applique.
Who knew? Before I got started with this, I just thought it's only going to take 10 minutes, Candace. Now we're like an hour's worth of material at least, and it's just nuts. But it's a lot of fun. So you want to start by looking at some of the samplers I brought?
Yeah,
Some
absolutely.
So in my mind, applique is anything that is stuck on top of something else to enhance the original's look. And I brought a piece from my husband's grandmother. I wanted to show you, oh, I got to get used to this. This was done in the late 1800s. And I think it was a kit because the face and the arm and the toes are from paper. But then somebody appliqued or stuck on embellishments to give it more of a three-dimensional look. I think there's even human hair in it around her face.
Wow.
But I think that's kind of cool. So our appliques that we do today have been done for a really long time. The tools have changed, the techniques have changed slightly, but the basic idea is the same. I brought some of my quilts so you could see different forms of applique as well. And we'll talk about them all in depth as we continue this course. So you want to start with this yellow
Sure.
one?
Let's talk about this. Isn't this fun? This chicken one back here.
This is so unlike me. This was a kit using Café Fas. I usually say it backwards. Fabric, which is way outside of my wheelhouse, but it's all appliqued in a blanket stitch with black, so the applique will show around the edges. It's raw edge, meaning that technically the edges could fray, but we don't really care because it'll look like feathers or whatever if it does. But the applique is close set enough where it will keep it.
Oh, you can really see the blanket stitch on there.
I know. I think
Great
it
job,
adds
David.
a fun dimension. Another type of technique that we're going to talk about is all of the Laura Heine patterns and quilts.
Yeah, isn't that cool?
Oh my, your head's in there.
Is it my head in
your
there?
head in there?
Yeah.
So here's one.
This is so cool. This is also a type of applique. It's called raw edge applique.
This was the original pattern. So mine doesn't look exactly like it, but it's close enough and I love it. But all of these pieces aren't even sewn down around the edges. They're just quilted all the way through to hold everything down at one time. And that's a perfectly valid form of applique.
So let's show a couple more of these Laura Heine ones. Let's do the top camera. So we have quite a few of these in. This one I think just came out last year, the gingerbread house. And Halloween's coming up. We have the black cat. And then this one came out also, I think, last year. This is my favorite form of applique, and I call it art quilts. So this uses Steam-A-Seam too, and we'll kind of show you that. It's a double-sided fusible product that you fuse onto your fabric, and then you fuse onto your pattern piece. So you just draw the outline of your image, and then you're going to fuse your fabric on there. So we have a couple other images to show you. So let's kind of take a look at those. I think we have shown this before. We have a flamingo that's hanging in our classroom. That was done. This one, of course, is all, like I said, raw edge applique, and then it's either quilted, and then you add the background. So that's one, and then we have the one that I did, the seahorse.
Oh, that's so pretty.
This was really fun. Again, you just do the seahorse and then you add the background. And this one's kind of like yours. It's mounted on a form, so it could be hung on the wall. But if you can also quilt these and put them on as a, a quilt or a bed cover or whatever you want.
Well, that's the other thing with applique. You don't have to think that it can only go on a quilt. It can go on anything. And whether it's a wall hanging or a purse or a jacket back, or it can go on any surface. So you just have fun with it.
Yeah, that's there. It's a lot of fun. Like I said, applique, I think, is more in the realm of art. And so you're combining artistic creativity and sewing.
Exactly.
And I think that's perfect. Perfect combination.
Exactly. You don't even have to stick with just printed fabric to do your applique. I have this one. I don't know if you do the overhead. I gotta keep remembering
always
right
backwards.
side up. This has wool around the little end flowers, which I think is kind of cool because you could let the wool be a little bit loose, and over time it'll kind of fuzz out and look really interesting too. This is another technique by a woman named Lynn Hagermeyer, and she does Candace Trevino quilts. And
So
I was shocked.
buttons.
Yeah, because hers intentionally has a raw edge. The thing that she said is that if you cut fabric on the bias, it won't ravel anyway. So she has you put the piece on top of another and then sew close to the edge with a small straight stitch right around the edge. And I think the results are really, really pretty.
I really love a raw edge.
I do too.
Yeah.
I there's times when it's really functional and adds to what you're doing, and other times you're thinking, wish I had, glued it down better or something. But
Yeah.
But it's another technique to add. So I've decided that with applique, your biggest worry is decision. And we're going to talk more about those as we go on. I just have a couple more samples to show you of different ones we're going to talk about today. Now I'm getting into the big ones. Yikes.
Really pretty quilts.
So this is a really cool quilt. I think it's called Grandma's Garden or something. But there's applique all around the edge. And these are a very simple design, all done, of course, in the 30s fabric, all blanket stitched down. But these edges are all turned so that they're a little crisper than what we saw earlier. From a distance, you can't tell, but when you look close, you can. We're going to talk about how to do that one. This is another Lynn Hagermeyer quilt from Candace Trevino. And this was really interesting because all of these curves are all appliqued on top of that red panel. All of these triangles, because they're cut on a bias, are appliqued on top of a piece of fabric to make it look like flying geese. Of course, the flowers and stems are all appliqued down, but I only blanket stitched around the stem. I have no idea why, but all the rest of the flowers are sewn with a little bit in from the edge with a shorter stitch and same color thread as the pattern piece. I only have a couple more, so you don't have to look at everything I've ever made. But this one was, it's all appliqued, it's all turned under. And again, it's just working from the back towards the front, stacking things. Usually I glue the whole thing down before I start to do the applique around the edge. I have so many of these quilts at home. I don't know why I make more, but I can't help myself.
This is really pretty.
I know it. This thing is huge. My God. But again, it's raw edge. I used steam machine to actually glue the edges down so it won't ever fray on me. And then I blanket stitched around the edge. But again, it's a contrast of colors. It's stacking from the back up toward the front. Two more.
This is good. We're getting higher to
closer
to the camera.
We'll be hidden eventually. This was a one by Sherry Stoll. I made it a long time ago. These were all done with freezer paper to turn the edges under. And I'm going to show you how to do freezer paper. I don't know if you will like it or not, but that was technique. That was the only way you used to be able to turn edges under back then. And this is my latest one that I did. I'm just going to
Oh, how
show you
fun.
one square. This one's by Lori Holt for Riley Blake Fabrics. And I noticed on your wall, you have a whole set.
We do. We have this in the store.
And it's 50% off.
50% off of that. I've got a couple of these in our San Marcos store and a few down in our Mission Bay store. If you can't find these online, but you could give us a call at one of our retail stores, and we could definitely send it out to you.
What's really cool about her patterns is you don't buy a pattern. You go on her website and the pattern is there free for you.
It's got all the fabric,
and
everything
this is the part
need.
that's so cool. And hers are all done with templates. She sells a package of plastic templates, and you trace around them and then turn them under a special way that I'm going to show you later today. So that's what we have to start with. So you could see why you have so many decisions to make. In fact, the first decision that you have is, what kind of stitch do I want to use to put my embroidery or my applique down and hold it there for eternity? And David and I made a video for you to watch that shows you some of the options.
Awesome. So yeah, we're going to watch a couple videos.
We have a couple decisions to make before we even start. First of all, we have to decide, are we going to sew it down with a sewing machine or by hand? We're not going to do hand because that's a 4-letter word, right? Once we've decided to sew it down by our machine, we want to decide what kind of thread to use, because thread comes in different weights. And I'll show you an example in a minute of what the different weights look like in applique. The third thing we need to decide is which stitch to choose. And there's lots of ways to machine sew an applique down. And I'm going to go through those on the machine in just a minute. When we're talking about thread, there are a lot of variables. One of the most important for me is thread size. We usually quilt with this weight, which is 50. But sometimes we want a little pizzazz, and you might want to do our applique with a shiny embroidery type thread, which is 40 weight and perfectly fine. If you want to mimic the look of handwork, however, you're going to want to go with a thicker thread. This is a 12 weight. There's a 30 weight as well, which is almost this size. But if you want to go any bigger than this, you're going to want to change your needle to a bigger hold needle, like a 90 or even 100. The whole point is, what is the final look that we want to have? So when we're talking about sewing down our applique, there's a number of different stitches that you can use. In the olden days, we used to always use a satin stitch. We would make it wider and we would make it shorter stitch length so that we had basically a solid bar around our applique. Some people just use a straight stitch and reduce the stitch length and just sew around the inside of the shape, maybe a 1/16 of an inch in or something. But there's 4 other stitches that I think you can use, and if you experiment on your machine, you might find even more. The first one that it comes on my machine is a regular, it's called quilting applique stitch. This stitch is very, you can hide this stitch more easily in your applique. It only bites into your fabric a teeny bit, and then it outlines the rest of it. I'm going to show you in a minute how this stitch is actually performed. Another stitch that you can use is called a shell tuck stitch. I'm going to reverse it so it looks the same as the last one. The only difference between this stitch, if you are looking at the picture on the machine, is how deep the stitch is going to bite into your applique. In reality, it's actually more than that, and I'm going to show you the difference in just a minute on that one too. Another good stitch to use is a blanket stitch. This is a very old-fashioned, timeless stitch that was used to edge the raw edges of blankets back in the day, but it makes a really cool applique stitch as well. I usually lengthen it so that it's further between the bites, and sometimes I like to make the width teenier. If I do that, that almost looks exactly like the very first applique stitch I showed you, but in a minute you'll see it's totally different. This is called a hem stitch. I'm going to reverse it so it looks like the very like the blanket stitch looks. If you were to put this aside to the first one I showed you, it looks identical. This stitch is formed totally different, but it has a very cool edge that it will make when it's all finished. It bites into the fabric as much as the blanket stitch did, but it's this line, if you want an actual outline of your applique, that's important. I made this sampler of different stitches that you can show how they stitch out compared one to another. I suggest you do the same thing with your machine at home and adjust the stitch length and stitch width so that you have some different options to choose from for sewing down your applique. This sampler shows those same 4 stitches, just with how the stitch itself is formed. In the applique stitch, the first one we did, it's formed by 4 running stitches with the bite into the fabric. 4 running stitches, the bite into the fabric. If you reduce the stitch length on this one, it doesn't change by very much the distance between where the stitch is going to bite into the fabric. However, on the shell tuck edge stitch, that only has 3 stitches between where it bites in. So if you're looking for an applique stitch that has a smaller distance between the bites, you might want to experiment with this one. The same thing is true on the blanket stitch. This has only 1 stitch before it bites into the fabric, another stitch, and it bites in. If you were to lengthen the stitch length on this one, you could improve the distance between the bites into your applique. Finally, the hem stitch. Sometimes it's called the pin stitch, depending what kind of sewing you're doing. This takes 4 or 5 stitches in the same place, back and forth, before it bites into the fabric. The result is a nice thick line, which if you're looking to outline your applique, might be a great choice. You can lengthen the stitch length on this one as well so that it's not quite so dense and have a beautiful finish to your project.
All right. I love that video. Oh my gosh, that was fabulous.
I know we did it ahead of time because otherwise it's so hard to get back and forth, and you got to see that stuff. So,
and that's always a question. What stitch am I going to use?
I know, and you got to know ahead of time. Yeah. If you make a sampler like that so you could always refer back to what stitch length you chose, what stitch width, which one you liked, how does it look. It's a lot easier for future projects. I wanted to talk about the sampler project that we're going to do today together. The download for it will be put on after the show, but the idea is it's going to look something like this. Disregard the shiny part. I tape down buttons because I want to put them at the very end when I'm all finished, but that's what it's kind of going to look like. I like to embellish things with buttons. I don't always do the applique or stitch around a design. Sometimes you want it to have somewhat of a 3-dimensional quality. You could put wool instead of these little yellow buttons or instead of these buttons. There's a lot of different things you could do other than what I did, but I want to show you how I got started. So first thing you have to have is a light box. This one is a slimline box. I don't know about you. I started off outlining on a window and trying to hold up your design and tape it, and then on fabric. It was a mess. Then we got the light boxes with the regular light bulb inside and the plastic cover, and then that got so hot.
So I want you to see how thin this is. This is amazing. So this, and the price on this is fantastic. And I think it will kind of dim down and it goes lighter and lighter. Look how bright that gets. So these are ones that we do have in our online and in the store. And it actually comes with also a cutting mat. So this is a Nifty Notions. And like I said, it comes with a mat and everything you need.
And
So
if you
here's the
treat
mat.
yourself to one big sewing notion a year, this is the one. You
A year
really,
or a month? Oh, every
Well.
year. How about each month?
whatever. I had to buy my cutting mat separate, so it's cool to see that they come together now. But
Yeah, because it's almost, you can see through
Yeah,
the mat
it's-
as well if you've got the light
it
on.
is amazing. Of course, you can use it for things besides sewing, but why would you? So,
Well, we use it, like I said, I
I'll
use
show
it
you
for
a case,
pattern. When we have to put our patterns together, we do PDF download patterns, and you have to
Right.
tape them. And they're very difficult to see once you put one paper on top of another.
that's a
So
good
we use
point.
this for patterns, taping patterns.
It's awesome.
And for kids, for drawing and paint,
Oh,
you know.
kids would love it. Plus, it's easy to clean up if they kind of miss out the lines.
Mhm.
I am jealous of your carry case.
I happen to have the carry case for mine. This one's mine. So you can see mine is in here. And this is a case. I don't have any right now in the store, but we could definitely get these ordered for you. We might have some online. It's the Nifty Notions carry case. But isn't this fabulous?
I'm all about the color, as you know.
She's a pink girl. She loves pink. So we might have to get Debbie one of these. And then it does come with a strap. And it has an extra zipper on the front. I'm in love with this case. And I actually keep a couple of my mats in here at home.
Oh,
So
that's
I love
good.
it to,
Yeah.
just keep it home where everything's
Sure.
handy. And I know it's protected. Because
Yeah, that's
can break.
awesome. Well, it's an amazing piece of equipment to have, and you really need to treat yourself to one if you don't have it already. So I'm going to start off today with my design. I got this from a coloring book, and then I simplified it because you can't have too many details in an applique. The dotted lines are intended to be stitching lines that will go on top of your design at the very last step. These double circles, I chose to put my middles with buttons, but you could choose to add, you want to take all the buttons off, you can choose to add applique too. So we're going to start by deciding whether to do a raw edge applique or a rolled finished edge applique. We're going to start with raw, so you could decide how you want to go. The first kind we're going to do is where we are copying the design onto a fusible backing. This one I cut ahead, and it's the end of the roll, so it's all wobbly. So I'm not really going to use it.
But we would tape it down and then trace. Now this is Steam-A-Seam 2. And let's talk just for a sec about Steam-A-Seam 2. You can get it by the yard. We sell it by the yard. It comes in several different sizes. Or you can buy the whole box. I actually bought the whole box and shared it with my mom and one of my other friends because it's perfect for all of the raw edge applique. Now, the reason Steam-A-Seam 2 is fabulous is because it's tacky. It will stick. A lot of the other double fusible products, they don't stick until you iron it. Well, I changed my mind. So I don't want to iron it till I'm completely finished. So the Steam-A-Seam 2 is tacky enough that it will stay on your project wherever you put it.
That's really good to know. The other thing that you have to think about when using a fusible backing like that is wood is right side up.
Yes.
Because I did a whole one of these samplers and put it flat on top of my design like this. When I ironed it onto my fabric, cut it out and peeled it away, all of my designs were backwards.
Yep.
So if you're using a product like this, the first thing you do is turn your design upside down. Now you can see why that light is so important, because you could still see through here enough to trace. I'm going to pretend I did all my tracing. I'm going to pretend I did all my cutting out. And I'm going to start with my background pieces.
So one step, we just kind of skipped it over.
This was the backwards one.
Fusing your Steam-A-Seam to your fabric. So you're going to put your fabric on your Steam-A-Seam, iron it down, and then cut it out. And this is what you get. You still have the Steam-A-Seam paper on the back. And when you're ready to place it, you're going to peel off that paper and stick it on your project.
Correct. Now, when I made my project, the first thing I did after tracing it onto a piece of fabric was to back the fabric with a piece of cutaway stabilizer. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, I'm going to sew everything down to a single layer of fabric, and it's going to pucker anyway, expect it. But this will help keep it from puckering a whole lot.
Yeah, stabilizer is a must. I've learned that working here. I didn't realize that you need stabilizer just about everything you do. We do sell the SF101, which is a woven stabilizer, and I use it for all of my projects. You know, it's great for embroidery, and it's great for applique or any of your sewing projects.
When I first drew this pattern onto fabric, I did not use the Sharpie like I showed you a minute ago.
No.
You would use the Sharpie on your
Steam-A-Seam, yeah, but not your fabric.
Not your fabric. When drawing onto the fabric, I use a friction pen. This irons away. So I drew out my whole design on my piece of fabric with friction. Once that was done, I realized that some of these lines are so skinny that I do not want to try to applique something that little. So I just did a satin stitch on some of these smaller lines in colors just to get me started.
That's a great idea, because like you said, you didn't want to applique that. That would be such a pain.
I can't see as it is, and I'd go blind, that's for sure.
So we do, you can find the friction pens in all different types of configurations. This one happens to be 6. And you can see it says friction on there. They're erasable, gel ink, and they're fabulous. They'll disappear with an iron. And it's a great way to mark, especially in this type of design, because you need a really good.
You need it, and
pencil will not go away.
Right, and expect to go back over your design and redraw the parts that got ironed out. It's fine. It's a small thing to pay to have to keep your design working. So once you have your Steam-A-Seam or other fusible whatever on your fabric, you're going to fusible webbing.
Double-sided fusible webbing.
Thank you. I knew there was a technical term. You peel that off, and then you're going to stick it right on top of your design like that.
And this is what I'm saying, because it's Steam-A-Seam too, it's tacky enough to stay there.
Mm-hmm. See, I didn't use that on this because I didn't have it at home.
And it doesn't stay.
It doesn't stay.
But Steam-A-Seam 2 will stay there.
So what I would do at this point is get all of my pieces that are Steam-A-Seam 2 and lay them out. I have a bunch of these little things, these round ones. This one has purple round things. Get those all.
And just to let you know, we didn't talk too much about cutting, but Debbie's got a collection of Karen Buckley scissors that are serrated. They have the serrated edge. And we featured this on my show a couple times, but the serrated edges, this is my favorite size, keeps your fabric from fraying. Mm-hmm. They're very sharp, and it helps the fabric not to fray when you're doing raw edge applique. So definitely find some good serrated edge scissors.
Yeah, and you got to have them in every size.
Every size.
I do.
You don't have the pink ones.
I do. I have the pink ones, and I have a little green one.
So you have them all, and
it's
the red
embarrassing.
And the red
I
ones.
can't help it. I can't help it. Anyway, once all of those pieces are down, you're going to iron them down. Right? So I tried to do this in steps.
Yes, very good.
So now these pieces have been fused down, except for these leaves. The leaves I put down afterward because I wanted them, remember, to be 3-dimensional. So I cut them out a different way. On the leaves, I traced on my light board with freezer paper, and freezer paper has a side that's kind of shiny, and that side irons right onto fabric. So if you iron it onto your fabric, cut out around it, it's so easy to take off, and then you have your shape. Those I put down after the fact.
Freezer paper is great to use for templates, like you said, to cut out a shape.
Yes.
You just draw on the freezer
Yep.
paper, and then it stays on the fabric, so
Yes.
you can cut it out.
Exactly. Once I had all these pieces down, I decided to tack them down with sewing. So we talked earlier about different stitches. This is a 3-step stitch or bean stitch or something. It goes 3 stitches, 3 stitches, then 1, 3, then 1, 3, then 1. And I just went down the center of each of these pieces. The ball shape I'm leaving till the end. I'm not even going to tack those edges down because I'm going to put a button on the middle of these. Then I went back, added the leaves, and did the same stitch up the center on the vein lines that are shown on your pattern. Whew, that was a lot of work to get there.
So ironing. Let's talk a second about ironing. You really want to use a wool mat for ironing this kind of applique. It kind of creates a little more of a moist heat, and it's great for applique as well as embroidery. And then we do have some of these little travel irons. This is one that we have in the store right now. And what I love is it's not too sharp. It's got a nice point on it, so you can really get in there and iron. And this one you can put water in and it'll steam. So ironing, there's all kinds of different irons because you have all these little spaces. And so I love a small travel iron for these little tiny projects. And then Debbie's got some antiques.
It's so embarrassing.
I called it antiques. I don't think you can find them anymore. Isn't this cool?
I know. You know, tools change over time. And I have this problem where I have to have it right then, right there. So I took a freezer paper applique class with Pearl Perea, and somewhere in Poway. That store's been gone for a long time. But I had to buy this. I had to buy this stand. I had to buy her special skewer. But we're going to talk about how to use this iron or this one. I even brought my clover iron because don't we all have one of these kind?
Yeah, and I don't know if we have these online. We had them in the store at one time when we were doing lots and lots of classes and projects. But look how tiny that head is on there. I mean, you're really going to get into some tiny spots.
And I bought this one. I've never used it. But it's cool because the head can change, and it's got its own, sitting thing.
So don't feel bad if you have a collection. You need all kinds of irons to
don't give them
really
to me.
do the
I
job.
Don't need any more.
Right? You really, one iron isn't going to cut it. You need a couple different ones.
So we're going to talk about the freezer paper technique for making an applique. So freezer paper. Oh, sure, I tore it off.
So we use a couple more products with the freezer paper technique. One of them is freezer paper, of course, but the other one is a stiletto.
It fell where I can't reach it, so sorry about this. But
she's got this cool stiletto. It's wood. And we just got these ones in. I think we featured these before. A little flamingo. So a stiletto will help you hold your fabrics, kind of a third, like you said, the third hand or a finger that's not going to burn when you use your iron. So stilettos are really important when you're ironing.
Thank you. So here's a bigger piece of freezer paper. You can see one side shiny, one side's plain. We used to call it butcher paper back in the olden days. It's what your butcher wrapped your meat in, so it wouldn't leak through. But of course, you would trace on the dull side. But this waxy side irons down onto fabric, and it comes right off. So if you have your, now I got to find the piece that I had ready to go. If you have your piece cut out, ironed onto the fabric, you could see that I cut it with paper scissors right around my drawn line. I left about 1/4 of an inch around it. I clipped with those sharp point scissors all over the place because those have to turn under.
Is that your moisturizer cream? What's going on, Debbie?
This is a great jar. I was worried. I haven't done this for so long. I was worried if I opened it up, it'd be all mildewy. And it's not. This was Niagara spray starch. And I sprayed it into the jar about 10 years ago.
A spray starch is with a, what are we calling this? A paintbrush.
With a paintbrush.
We have this fabulous one, Best Press. And Best Press, you can find it in all different scents.
Yes. Oh, they're so good.
They have a brand new one that just came out that we just got in. Lavender.
Ooh,
Doesn't that look amazing?
Wow.
So Best Press is a starch, but it's an amazing starch. It's not like your average spray starch. This one we use for all different product processes, but it's great. So she sprayed it. This is Best Press in this little container, and we're going to use.
So you just dip it out. I'm going to use a regular paintbrush. I don't know what size, what kind. I just
grabbed whatever you have
stuff everywhere. Okay, so to do freezer paper turned under applique, you're going to paint along the edge like that, so it's good and wet. Then you have to pretend you're using chopsticks. So you hold this down with one hand, and you're going to lightly turn this up with the other.
So you can see where you really need an iron that's got a nice sharp point.
Yes. You know, when I was in high school, we used these things to put dry mount tissue on the back of photographs before they were mounted.
Mm-hmm.
Then they use it for this. And then with your silhouette machine, you can get a heat press. We used to use those to melt the fusible material onto the back of the photographs to your mat board. So
wow.
I wish I kept all those from back then. Anyway, this is how you do it. And then you're going to sit there, and they keep falling back up. It's hard to get a nice smooth shape, but that's part of the process. Just keep
working with it.
You keep working with it, and you mash it down, and you hold it till it sets, till all that spray starch is dried. You can see why you need a wool mat.
Mm-hmm. It really absorbs the moisture.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing I would suggest is that you put an old cloth under it.
Yeah.
Because anytime you're using starch, you have the capacity to burn.
And steam, because it will go through your mat. So definitely put your mat on something. Don't put it on your cutting mat because it will warp it. Ask me how I know.
Don't put it flat on your wooden table either. Ask me how I know that one.
We're giving you all the tips of what not to do.
Oh my God. Once the edges have all been turned under, you just pull this freezer paper out, and you're good to go. I usually use a glue stick to glue this down into the part on my design where it's supposed to go, but you can use whatever you want.
Glue sticks, of course, are my best friend. We love glue sticks. I use them now for everything. I'm like, how come I didn't know about that years ago?
Years ago,
I was using pins and all kinds of stuff. I'm like, glue stick, it's perfect.
For a long time, we were told to use glue sticks like out of your children's school box thing. No, that really gums up your needle. That's
that'll gum up your needle. We have, just use the ones that say fabric glue. Of course, we have all different brands. This one's a Dritz, and it's perfect. It's just a glue stick, but the fabric glue ones, like I said, they won't gum up your machines or your needles. There are some people that still do use their kids' glue sticks, and that's fine. But we do recommend definitely one for fabric.
These wash out.
And they wash out, yes.
So they're pretty nice. Okay. This is a lot of information.
It is.
I hope everyone's taking notes.
So go back and watch as you do this project at home.
The last technique I'm going to show you is what I call Madeira. I bet there's a better name for it, but I call it Madeira. I do a lot of heirloom sewing. And Madeira is a technique that you use to make those nice curves at the bottom of hems or things like that. So on this one, you're going to use your cutaway stabilizer to draw your design.
That looks like
your
fusible mesh, no-show mesh. Yeah.
This probably is fusible, but
Yeah,
that's because it's all I had. Anyway, once it's drawn, you're going to put that piece of cutaway right on the back side of your fabric. And you're going to sew right on the line, right around the line like this, all the way around. You're going to close the figure up. You're going to cut it close to your sewing line. I'm going to go like this.
There you go.
Oh, well. Okay.
You have to go opposite.
They're opposite of what you think. So I'm cutting it really close. I'm clipping the corners. I've sewn it all the way around. You could tell on this side maybe. Okay. Then you're going to cut a hole in the back
of the mesh.
Just in the back of the mesh. And you're going to use that as your gateway to turn this. Now my turner tool is one of these bad boys.
Now, okay.
You wouldn't think about it.
All right.
You wouldn't think.
Let's watch
so
this.
I turn it. This is like making sausage. There's no pretty way to do it. So you're going to turn it right side out. And this little ball part here is so helpful.
Those are the Floriani turning tools, or the R&K.
Yeah.
We do still have some of these. And it has, like I said, it's got the little ball. So this is like a turning tool, a stiletto. You can use it for all kinds of things. But that little ball is your trick, because it won't poke through the fabric when you're turning it.
Not usually.
Not well.
Ask me how I know that one.
Yep.
Okay, so you're going to turn this little thing inside out, and you'll end up with a wrinkly, horrible piece that looks like this. But you don't care. You want to just mash it pressed. And
but it's perfect. Look at the edges on that. I mean, that's perfect. You couldn't do that with our other methods. So this is a very unique method.
Yes, I forgot to turn this little sucker up to high. Okay. Once you have it turned like this, you are going to spray it. And okay. Once it's turned like this, you're good to go. You can iron it flatter if you want. You could try to do your best with this, but you're done. This is the technique that was done by Lori Holt in that last quilt that I showed you. That was all applique. Well, my problem was I don't like the way the drawing lines show from this side sometimes. I don't like how it's puckered. So I thought if I could take away that liner piece once I'm done with it, it would look prettier. Yeah. So I used this Madeira method that we use in heirloom sewing. So if you use wash away thread, but only
we happen to have some.
Of course.
It's known as bobbin thread.
Well, because I wound it on the bobbin.
You wound it on the bobbin. Yeah.
There you go. So if you sew around that design on the line with wash away thread in your bobbin and regular thread on top, you could do this next step. You want to mark your bobbin.
Make sure you know it's wash away.
I saw this thing on YouTube. It was hysterical. This girl made her boyfriend a pair of swim trunks.
Oh, no. This already sounds bad.
He's like, you know how these 18-year-olds are. They're very sure of themselves and stuff. And he's preening around the pool in this thing. And he got in the pool showing off. And he's like, oh, my goodness.
It all came apart.
They cut away too soon.
They use wash away thread.
So
don't use wash away thread in a bathing suit.
No.
Okay.
And keep it in a plastic bag because moisture in the air will ruin it. Okay. Once you do that, then you could do this next step. So you're going to spray it a lot with starch. And you're going to let it sit for a minute, and then you're just going to press it. You're not going to move your iron. In our heirloom class, this one lady sings this song, press till dry, press till dry, press till dry, or you will cry.
I like that.
I know. Well, it's stuck. Now I have to
There
do
you
that.
go.
But the whole idea is to dry the spray starch.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to dry it all because you get the point.
It's kind of like using tarot magic.
Yes.
Yes.
Once you've dried it all like this, then you can pull it and iron it out so it's flatter. So you see the difference between the two shapes?
Yeah.
They're the same shape.
So your bobbin thread disappeared.
Yes.
Because
So
it was
now,
washed
Candace,
away.
all you need to do is pull it apart. So just peel it.
This?
Yeah.
And it'll just come right. Oh my gosh, look, it just came right out.
There. So if you look, and that was the top thread. If you look, the edges are turned under by only a teeny tiny bit. It's not perfect, but we don't care. It's a handmade item. It's
That's
not
a cool
as
method.
it's not as bulky as having 2 layers of stuff is. And I just think it leaves a prettier piece.
It does. And I love this idea of this wash away.
There you go.
Bobbin thread.
So,
this is something that we can use too in with serging.
Yes.
Hems and a few other things. Yeah.
It has so many uses. So many uses.
All right.
So once you have that done, I put mine down with glue stick. That held it so I could do my applique. This one I used the hem stitch because I wanted it to be outlined.
That triple.
Yes. Here I did top stitching. So there's just whatever stitch you want to put on it. Put on your buttons and voila.
And then we'll put on our buttons.
Yep. And I'm going to show you one more. I was so organized. Oh, one thing I forgot to show. When you're ironing stuff down, especially using your double stick tape, or your fusible, you really want to use a pressing cloth.
Yes. We do have the applique pressing cloths that will not get your iron sticky because that sticky stuff will come off. And it'll come onto your iron, and that's bad. So
I wanted to show one more thing, and that was, well, those. But that was this other design. I gave you a bonus design because I wanted to show you that you don't have to just applique fabric. This is a ribbon. It's called the floppy bow method. You tie a big bow, you flop it down, you mash it so it's flat, and then you applique around the edge.
Well, it really gives it a 3D effect.
It does, and I think that's pretty. I think it adds just another dimension. So don't constrain yourself to just fabric is my point. And voila.
And there you
I'm
have
done.
It. So we have, basically we showed you 3 methods for applique. Raw edge, freezer paper, and then this last tip, which you call Madeira style. And so we've included that in the printout that you can download and check out. We have a couple other products we just want to share because we love them. One of them is our Kimberbell set of tools. So if you have the other camera, we can show you, especially when you're doing applique, having a good applique scissors is fabulous. I want to show you these. This is something I just recently learned about these. I'm watching Kim from Kimberbell. Is this edge right here is sharp. So this is to really get in there if you've got little threads that you need to lift up and cut. It's almost like you can do it all in one step. That's awesome. So that's great for applique as well as embroidery. And you really need a good pair of little snips. We have this pair, and then we just got these brand new ones. I just sold all of them in the store, but we do have them online. They're called Kai snips. I'll have David pull those up. You need really sharp tip tools. So your regular scissors sometimes don't have a sharp tip. Yep. So this pair just came out. So see how that tip is like very, very sharp. So sometimes applique really requires that
Yes.
that different type of scissors. So find some scissors that have really sharp tips. I love this one. I was going to buy a pair, but they're gone. So we have them online.
Well, plus once you applique on your project,
Mhm.
you've got all these little threads sticking out that you have to cut close to the.
And this pair,
project.
I love it. They're angled up.
Mhm.
So you can find these in this beautiful set that we have by Kimberbell, or you can, of course, buy these all separate. But you really need some different tools for your different projects.
Exactly.
So this is perfect for embroidery and embroidery applique.
One more thing, don't skimp on the tools because
No, invest. It's an
Invest.
investment, definitely.
you get so frustrated if you're trying to make do with something else that's not made for it.
Yeah, I've learned that
The hard way.
there are things that you definitely want to invest in.
Yes.
And I've also learned that sewing is not the most expensive hobby in the world. Fishing is.
Yikes. So you're saying if my husband is telling me that I'm spending too much on a sewing machine, I can turn around and say, but
Yeah.
your boat.
Yeah, you're fishing. Yeah, our manager here, Corey, fishes, and he's telling me the prices he pays on different gear. So it's sewing's no problem. But
That's
definitely
so funny.
invest in some tools that just make your life easier.
Indeed.
And because you want to enjoy the process, you don't want to be frustrated.
Right.
Invest in a great machine and great tools, and that's what we're here
Well
for.
said.
We're here to help with those processes.
Well, that was fun.
So, do we have a video? I think there's another video. No,
Nope.
you recorded just the one. Okay,
It was a long one.
it was a long.
Candace.
Okay. I had it written twice, so we have 2 videos. Okay, well, excellent. Any burning questions out there? We didn't have anybody on chat today, but if there were any questions that popped up, definitely ask the expert. Debbie has been sewing for many, many, many years, and I know your love is heirloom.
Yes, that's my first love.
But she does everything. Like I said, she taught our classes for over a year. It was called Sewing with Your Feet, and how to use all these different feet that your sewing machines came with. And that was a really fun class.
Yes, we did a lot of techniques.
Yeah. And I understand you're headed to a retreat soon.
Yes, I'm so excited. I'm going to go to Hamilton, Missouri, first week of June, to sew with Jenny Doan and all her group, and to shop at all the stores. They're all open again. And I go every year. Last year, of course not.
Didn't go yet.
But we stay in a dormitory, and
Oh, how
I'm going to
fun.
have 4 roommates. I don't know how they'll
So
take
you'll be
it.
back in high school.
Yeah.
Or what is it?
College.
Sleepaway camp.
Oh my God.
That
It's going
sounds
to be
like fun.
awesome.
And Jenny was on our Quilt Fest.
Oh, she's so amazing.
So that sounds like a lot of fun to go hang out with
Yeah.
her and her team out there.
Oh,
in
they
Hamilton.
are unbelievable. Yeah. It's gonna be
Awesome.
fun.
Well, hey guys, we're just at 12. We did 1 hour packed with information. That was a lot of information and techniques. So definitely go back and rewatch this. Print the instructions that we had for you. So everything is in here. This is some of the discounts we have. And then we did have all the instructions for you. And I will upload the pictures that you can print out. But this is perfect. I mean, find a coloring book. I mean, there's so many fabulous things you can, resources. You don't need a pattern, you know. Find a coloring book, and there's lots online. You put images, flower image, and
castles and trucks.
You name it.
Oh my God!
My granddaughter's into unicorns right now, so anything unicorn,
oh, there you go.
she'd be thrilled with.
There you go. That'd be fun.
Okay, so hopefully all of you have. I've seen a lot of you have been chatting. Hopefully you have liked or shared our page, and so you'll be entered to win some of our drawings. So let's do that.
Yay.
Yeah. All right. So David, I'm going to go have you pick a customer to win, and let's show you what you're going to win. I think the first thing I'm going to pull up is our bag of bags. So we have these fabulous bags. They come in all different colors with all these different sayings, and you can get them individually or you can buy the whole bundle. So we're going to give away the entire bundle. And I won't be able to see the name, so you'll probably have to let me know who that was. So do we have a winner for our bag of bags? Okay.
Stephen and Norman.
Oh, okay. Stephen M. Norman Kaufman. Awesome. I have seen you on our shows quite often. Thank you so much for joining us and participating. And we're thrilled to send you our bag of bags. So if you see your name, go ahead and send us an email. And so you're going to send us an email to contest@SewingMachinesPlus.com and say, I won. And then David will send you out your bag of bags. So let me know that you saw your name, and we'll get that shipped out to you right away. Okay, so let's take a look at our second giveaway. So I have that here. We can look at our top camera. We have this beautiful fabric, and I gave you a couple threads that will go with that just beautifully. But you are going to get our best press. So fantastic. You're going to love this product. If you don't already use it, you'll absolutely love it. You just can use it for everything. And it's a starch, and but you can use it on clothes and quilting and all sorts of things. And you'll definitely need it to do the projects we did today. And then I do have a really great pair of snips. So again, these are very, very sharp, perfect for applique and snipping little threads. So and then of course you get one of our bags. So this is our yellow bag. It says, live life one stitch at a time. All right, so David, who is the winner of our yellow bag? I can't see it.
BB to sew.
Okay, BB to sew. Fantastic. That must be your handle. So if you see your name, you see that you're a winner, go ahead and send us an email. Go ahead and put a chat out. Say, hey, I saw my name. And send us an email to contest@SewingMachinesPlus.com. And say, hey, I'm a winner. I won. And we'll send you your giveaway right away. We'll send it right away. Right, David? We can get it shipped out right away to you. Okay, so for my last giveaway, we have a very lucky winner. They are going to get one of our extra large mats. This one is our Sewing Friends, and it's our cats and dogs. So I love this because it's both. Some of you are cat fanatics, some of you are dog fanatics. So this one covers both of them, and it's in this beautiful color blue. Now this is the extra large size, so this will definitely go under any machine that you have. And so this is what a great item to have. You definitely need a mat, you know, under every sewing machine you have, your cutters, your sergers. They really help to save your machine as well as save your furniture. So really nice. So David, who is our winner for our mat?
Robin Warren Duggan.
So Robin Warren Duggan. Awesome, Robin. Fantastic. If you see your name, go ahead and chime in. Let us know that you saw your name. If you pull up chat, has anybody? No? Okay. So Robin, go ahead and let us know that you won and send us an email. If you have questions on any of the products we showed today, let's put up some of our phone numbers. We have our 1-800 number, which is for our e-commerce. So that is for anything you want to purchase online. And then we have our retail store in San Marcos, as well as our retail store down in San Diego, in Mission Bay. And we'd be more than happy to help you if you have any questions. We have product experts standing by to answer any questions, as well as help you with product selection. If there was something you were interested in that we don't sell online, definitely give us a call in the store and we can get some things sent out to you. Just a reminder, we have fabric on sale in our store. Our shelves are packed. We can't find room for the fabric we have coming in right now. So it's all on sale at 25% off. So come in and shop. We've got so many new lines of fabrics for you. We showed a few of those on my last. So it's new. But if you didn't get a chance to see those and you live close by, definitely come on in and shop for some new fabric for your applique projects, right? All right. So thank you guys so much for watching. We appreciate you taking the time out of your busy day. We will be changing the time of our show. We're not exactly sure, but it will be posted what time we'll change it to. And my shows will not be run in June, but I will see you guys again in July. We have our big Hoop Fest event in June. So we kind of step back from doing some of our live shows and focus on our huge event that's coming up. So we definitely want to thank Debbie. She stepped off my stage here. But Debbie, thank you so much. I think your audio is still on.
Oh,
but
is.
Thank you for coming.
I had fun. I'll get it. Thank you for having me. That was great.
We miss Debbie being one of our teachers. So thank you so much.
Thank you
for taking the time out of your day to share your vast knowledge, just a snippet of her vast knowledge with our audience.
Thank you. I love it.
All right.
Very
so, all right, everyone. Well, you guys have a great day and we will see you next time.
See ya.
Bye.